Today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in Orleans Invasion. Now normally when I hear about competitive games that have a cooperative expansion, I'm not all that interested in it. Especially a game like Orleans, which I love. I love the core game of it, which is a competitive game. And so it just seems like a weird concept to turn a well-honed, well-balanced competitive game into a cooperative game. But I played Orleans Invasion the other day, and I loved it. I thought it was brilliant what they did. It almost makes me think the designers had that in mind all along as a viable expansion for the game. And I think I'm more excited to play the cooperative version of it again than the competitive version. To create a cooperative atmosphere, the game does three things. It adds some group goals that I'll talk about more in a second that you have to try to achieve. Everybody has their own personal goal that you have to achieve, and it's kind of tied to the group goals. Like one of the group goals is for everyone to achieve their personal goals. And the last one is an event system. So you completely get rid of the normal events in Orleans and you replace them with new tiles where you reveal one every round. Most of them are bad, and a few of them are good. And the combination of these three things is just really, really clever on multiple levels. So the personal goals are really cool because you have your own thing to kind of that you have to accomplish, and so in a way it forces you to try something new. It wouldn't work as well in the competitive game, even though you could put this in the competitive game, because it really does force a player down a certain path. But in a cooperative game, it feels like a task to do, like your part of the job is doing this thing, and often that goal ties to different strategies in terms of the events and the group goals. The events, I'm on the fence about. They're a little, so I don't always love just random events in games, but I will concede that I think, because it feels fairly punishing, like most of these are fairly punishing, but I think that Invasion does it pretty well because most of the events are bad things that trigger at the end of the round. So you see that this bad thing is coming up and you discuss as a group, okay, can we mitigate this? Can we prevent this? And oftentimes you can. You can work around these things, and like I think one of them was remove one of the yellow dudes from the board, and there's only one yellow dude on the board, I think, in Invasion, and so you might work that round as a group to get that yellow dude off the board, so that you're not punished when the game tells you to take it off because it's already off the board. And these come out in a different order every game. They're completely random, so I think they add a lot of variety to the game. But I think my favorite piece of the puzzle, because I typically don't like punishing mechanisms, is, and I tried to print it out in color, it didn't print out in color, but it's this sideboard of group goals. So you replace the board in Orleans where you're discarding guys, usually at the end of the game, from your bag. You're getting rid of them completely and putting them on this board. This board replaces it. And it's a bunch of group goals that you have to accomplish. So like you have to discard a certain number of soldiers to protect your city. You have to put a certain number of coins on here. You have to get rid of a certain number of goods. You have to accomplish a certain number of the yellow dudes. I forget what they're called. Things like that. And there are some other goods that you have to get, other guys that you have to put out there. And I really like this is a rewarding cooperative mechanism because you're always feeling like you're moving forward, but it seems very difficult. Like at the beginning of the game, and even in the middle of the game, it will seem unattainable that you can do this because there's so much to do. But as you progress, it feels good. You're working towards a goal that is not randomly changing. You have control over it, but the game already has an element of randomness, in this case Orleans, because you're drawing things out of a bag. And so it creates this sense of, okay, everybody, we got to work together to do this. We have to, some of us will work on certain things, others will work on other things. We're always looking at what each other are doing to see if we're doubling our efforts in the right or the wrong way. I really, really like this type of cooperation in cooperative games where we're working together towards a common goal that we have agency and control over, and that isn't punishing. It feels like it feels daunting, but it's not randomly punishing. So I really, really like that. And I've been trying to think of other cooperative games that do that. Other cooperative games add urgency through, like in Pandemic, the cubes are piling up and you have to deal with that. But this is from the very beginning of the game. You see, okay, we have to accomplish this. What is our plan to do this? How does that plan change throughout the game? But in the end, this is what we have to accomplish. And I really, really like that concrete set structure. And it's very gratifying if you complete it. We did not win our game, but we did complete certain elements of this track. And that's another thing. Even if you lose the game, if you complete parts of it, the game doesn't soften it. The game doesn't say, okay, you kind of won. We lost, but it still felt gratifying at the end because we accomplished certain things on this map. So I really, really like that. If you have a favorite competitive game that has a cooperative expansion, I'd love to hear about what makes it special in the comments. Or if you've played earlier an expansion and want to talk about that, I'd love to hear about your thoughts on that as well. Thanks.